Hey ladies and gents, welcome back for some more MMORPG goodness. Today we are looking at a small indie game in early access that was released literally a few days ago at the time of this recording. I want to give my first impressions of the game because I do think it deserves some exposure. The game is called Reign of Darkness, which sounds like a My Chemical Romance song, but it's anything but. The game is gritty, atmospheric, hardcore, and definitely old school. So let's find out if you should give Reign of Darkness your time. Okay guys, so I need to preface this video by restating the fact that this game is in early access, which means tons of features are not implemented yet, and a lot of the gameplay is either going to be buggy or not working completely. It also means that the game is probably going to be changing all the time, so if you're used to one playstyle, it might change in the future. It also means that the community is also going to be rather small, so don't expect there to be thousands and thousands of players on the game, at least just yet. Wink wink. Alright, you got it? Good, let's get into it. Reign of Darkness is best described currently as a sandbox MMORPG where you create a character, choose how you want to set up your class structure, and then just kind of go out and explore. Really, that's it. Currently, character creation is pretty bare bones, featuring only one race being the human, with more to come in the future. At least that's what it looks like. Being able to create either male or female, and then obviously picking a name for your character. If you thought the login screen looked pretty dreary and dark, then yeah, that's kind of the idea. Reign of Darkness's setting and themes take place during the Black Plague. More specifically, 1348 AD. At least that's what the Steam page says, because, you know, I can read. The game currently has a large open world to explore with absolutely no hand-holding. 8 class skill sets to choose from, with you being able to mix between 3 of them, creating your own unique playstyle similar to Arcade. A randomly generated equipment loot system, in which equipment will always have randomly generated stats to make loot feel new and exciting every time you get items, kind of like Diablo. Large open world bosses, group dungeons, some PvP elements like dueling and open world PvP, quests, and a somewhat basic crafting system using an item you acquire called the Philosopher's Stone that allows you to transmute and create items using materials you get from enemies. For the game being in early access, there is surprisingly a lot of depth to the game. It takes some of the best features of other MMORPGs and mixes them into a nice little bowl. As stated, it has the loot system of Diablo, gameplay that reminds me of old school World of Warcraft and EverQuest, open-ended gameplay of older titles in the genre, a class system like Arcade, equipment enhancement like Korean MMORPGs, a transmog system, and instance dungeons like current theme park MMORPGs. Other features to come would be things like NPC party members for solo play, dragon mounts, GM-controlled enemies for dynamic events, which actually sounds pretty interesting, races, armors, areas, pets, graphics, etc., etc. For a game that is being developed by only one person, that's pretty amazing in my book, and with what is here, I can happily say it's pretty fun, albeit it is really simple, with only questing and killing monsters being really the only activities to take part in currently. Diving into some of the other features, the current classes or skill sets in Reign of Darkness are the Archer, Wraith, which is like a Dark Knight, Barbarian, Priest, Paladin, Shaman, Sorcerer, and the Necromancer. You start the game with 10 skill points to spend into any of the classes, and then gain 2 points every time you level up. Skills have a maximum rank of 10, and to get further into the skill trees, you have to spend a certain amount of points into the class. This allows you to theory craft tons of different builds and synergies, which is pretty freaking awesome in my opinion. Next is stat customization. Unlike other MMORPGs, Reign allows you to choose where your stat points go upon leveling up, giving you 10 ability points per level that can be spent into the large amount of abilities. There is Strength, Dexterity, Vitality, Intellect, and Conviction, which is more or less luck as your basic stats. Then there is your damage and resistance type stats, which are Elemental, Runic, Divinity, Weapons, and Defense. Then there is your proficiency stats, which are Physical, Healing, and Magic. I would have to say this is a lot to wrap your head around, but based on your playstyle, you realistically will only focus on maybe 2 to 3 stats to get the most out of how you play. Movement and exploration in Reign is unfortunately incredibly slow at the time. Your character more or less runs at a snail's pace, which makes running from one part of the map to another a chore to do. You can get around this slow movement by acquiring a mount, which you can either buy with real money in the cash shop, which can probably be interpreted as pay to win, but you can at least earn mounts if you run dungeons on higher difficulties. Speaking of dungeons, when you run across one with your friends, you can actually choose the difficulty of them and reset them to run them again for a chance at more loot, which I didn't expect to be in the game since it's so early in development. The one dungeon I was able to run at my level was actually really fun. Dungeons are always challenging as well since they scale with your level, which is something you think most MMORPGs would do to keep dungeons relevant as time goes on, but for some reason, it's just not something you see. Combat in Rain is a bit of a mixed bag currently. Anytime you are fighting an enemy, you have your normal attack, which will be either shooting your ranged weapon if you're not in melee distance, or using your melee attack if you are in distance. Spells and abilities can be used practically with no global cooldowns, which is a bit weird that you can just spam your whole action bar at once for massive damage and then wait for them all to come off cooldown. I would suggest to the developers to have a global cooldown in the future to prevent spamming tons of abilities all at once for balance, especially in PvP, but I'm sure it's something that is in the works. Or at least I hope it is. Another feature in the game is the free aim mode, which allows you to aim your shots with your ranged weapon, adding a bit of flavor for the archer classes since you get a bonus for free aiming such as better damage or farther range. You also have a Diablo style potion belt that allows you to equip 2 different type of potions that you can loot off enemies. The potions charge over time, allowing you to continuously reuse them. I like this system a lot, rather than having to craft a bunch of different potions to carry around or purchase them off players. I'm looking at you, Arcade, you damn son of a... The community within Reign of Darkness is also incredibly helpful and kind. Don't be surprised to see higher level players offering you money, items, equipment to help your new character, as well as offering to help you run through dungeons. There is currently no real sense of economy within the game yet, since players are still gearing themselves, and with no big form of crafting yet, I doubt there really will be, especially with no auction house. Making money in the game is also pretty easy, since quests reward money and are repeatable. You can also sell any drops you find to pretty much any NPC. Money can be used to upgrade your gear using the gem infuse system, which allows you to upgrade stats or add stats to equipment. You can also obviously buy items and repair gear. Most of the money you earn will most likely be going to repairing your gear anyways, since most of the time you will be dying a lot, and anytime you die, you lose a bit of durability on your equipment. Trust me, you will die.
Son of a bitch.
Graphically, the game is nothing special, and it more or less has an early 2000s type of vibe, so I guess it can be considered a retro feel. It does also have settings to run low, medium, high, and max, but I really didn't see much of a difference other than maybe smoother textures, so I'm assuming those will be added later on in development. The HUD menus and overall the UI is also pretty clean, but it's missing a lot of quality of life features, such as a quick delete button or being able to sort your inventory. Overall, I quite enjoy Reign of Darkness. It's a really fun, small online game that has a lot of promise so far, and I plan to keep an eye on this one. I will say though, it does have a $20 upfront asking price on Steam currently, so to even play the game, you do have to buy it. It's also been stated that the game will eventually go free to play later on, so the price of the game is going towards development. I think it's definitely worth the asking price, as you can easily get more than 100 hours plus from this game. If all the features wasn't enough to entice you at least, keep an eye on the game and check back once more changes are implemented, as updates, or at least for now, are really frequent. Some things I'd definitely like to see would be a thief class. It's strange that there isn't one, especially for the theme of the game, as well as a bard class. I love bards. Absolutely love bards in MMORPGs. I don't know why, I just do. That's me right there. I'm the Spoony Bard. Crafting and professions would also be a really good addition. They have said that crafting will be more fleshed out, but I'm not so sure about professions. Anyways, let's wrap this up with my final thoughts. For Reign of Darkness being an early access game, it does have a lot of features you usually would not see until much later. Things like transmogging, which for those who don't know, allow you to take an item's appearance you like and place it on top of an item that has better stats, so you can style out your character. Transmogging is something that you usually don't see this early in development, but it's in Reign of Darkness. Reign doesn't take too much to run, since the game is pretty graphically low. I'm not sure if this will change later on, but it's good that it won't take a high-end rig to run it. If you miss old school MMORPGs, Reign will definitely scratch that itch. Graphics, gameplay, community, all harken back to the good old days. Since the game is in early access, you can help shape the game as it's in development. Join Reign's Discord and leave feedback, and unless it's like a ridiculous request, it most likely will be taken into consideration. Gear is taken straight from Diablo here with its RNG. It's an amazing feeling when you run a dungeon and find that perfect piece that complements how you play, so if you like loot, you'll like Reign of Darkness. Lastly, with many of these early access games, the developer is always very active within the community, and Reign is no different. It's always good to see when a developer is willing to interact with their community and take feedback. While the game definitely feels nostalgic and fun to play for me, not everyone likes old school. The MMORPG market definitely has tons to choose from, and with competitors looking like this nowadays, I can see why it would be a hard sell for some. The game being in early access and being buy to play can definitely turn some people off, especially with the negative history behind early access being either the game takes forever to release or just never actually releases. As I stated earlier in the video, the game can be quite buggy. Dungeons not working right, exploits, random things happening can be all too common, so keep that in mind. While there is a future features tab on the Steam page, there isn't necessarily a roadmap showing what's being worked on currently. Players like knowing what's actually being developed, and having a roadmap would definitely give people things to be excited for. Another thing I mentioned earlier in the video is the slow movement. The beginning of the game is pretty rough, with things killing you pretty fast if you wander too far, and being booted back to town after a death and then having to walk back can be pretty frustrating. While it can be remedied later on by buying a mount, a slight increase to run speed would go a long way. With the game being so early in development, of course, there won't be a ton of things to do just yet. While there are a lot of small features like gear enhancement or transmogging, gameplay-wise, there's really only quests and killing monsters. While that can be fun for a while, some players will definitely want more to do. Hopefully things like PvP arenas or player-owned housing gets released in the future to appease those type of players. Lastly, Reign of Darkness's cash shop can be interpreted as pay to win. You can buy starter gear that has some decent stats, a mount, the ability to fly practically bypassing all the slowness of walking. My advice would be to not buy those items. Experience the game for what it is, and if you start to enjoy it, then definitely continue to support the development by buying something from the cash shop. Since the game has transmogging, I'm a little puzzled as to why they didn't just implement cosmetic equipment to entice players to style their characters rather than what is in the cash shop, since items like that, I feel, would sell much more than what is currently there. And that's all for this video on Reign of Darkness. I'd have to say, the day I was wandering the Steam store and found it, I was pleasantly surprised. So I want to know, are you playing Reign of Darkness? Or do you plan to check it out? Comment down below and let me know what you think. I respond to all comments on my videos, so let's have a discussion. As always, I want to thank my loyal supporters on my videos. You guys and gals really make this fun to do. Also, if you like content like this, you should definitely hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel and gives me the confidence to make more videos. If you like the video, click the like as well, since it lets me know that you want more content like this. Lastly, I have a Twitter and Discord with links down below in the description if you want to follow them. Anyways, I'll cut my rambling here, and I'll see you guys in the next video.